This is Chapter 14 and 15, Presidential Power and the Bureaucracy. Discussion number 3, Line Agencies. The line agencies of the United States government execute the laws on the President's behalf as they are written by Congress and as they are expounded upon by the President's ordinance power, and they enforce the regulations and the laws across the United States acting in the name of the President. Now, the first areas that we look for these line agencies is in the President's cabinet, which serves as the President's advisors of the various executive departments that have been created with significant roles in the United States government. You see here listed on the notes the various different secretaries that head the various executive departments in the United States that are part of the President's cabinets. Each leader of each of these departments, each secretary that you see here, is required to be appointed by the President and to be confirmed by the Senate. And since it's not called the Secretary, the Attorney General, I want to make sure everyone knows, does head up the Justice Department. You see here also all the years that all of these different positions were created. And what we can see, if you want to see a little bit about American history, is you can see what was considered to be important during the time period that these positions were created, and that why they were considered to be significant and needed personal presidential attention and significant attention by the American government to create a cabinet level position. One of the things hopefully that's obvious to you is you see in 2002 the Secretary of Homeland Security was created after the 9/11 attacks. Now, these are not the only locations for line agencies. There is also a list of independent agencies that do not have cabinet status, but they are assigned duties that they are required to carry out. A lot of times these independent agencies are kept intentionally away from the President as much as politically possible because they do not want the actions of these agencies to be affected by politics. For example, the independent regulatory commissions are supposed to be beyond the reach of the President. Now, the members of the boards that actually run these organizations are appointed by the President, but then they're also confirmed by the Senate. That's as apolitical as we can get, because the same way that we do judicial appointments. The members have longer terms than the President, and that's significant because this way they're not dependent on keeping the current President happy, because they don't have to hope that President appoints them again back to the position. So they have complete independence on that one. Also, if any of these people are officially members of any political party, they cannot add up to over a bare majority in these commissions. So let's say that there's 15 members, there can't be any more than 8 Democrats or 8 Republicans on the committee for the appointments. Now, these independent regulatory commissions are created to deal with specific regulations to enforce congressional law and make sure that they're being followed, dealing with minute details and specialized information that Congress doesn't have the time or the knowledge in order to deal with the specificity necessary for the regulations. The independent regulatory commissions release Congress from legislating repetitive tasks or approving minor details and allowing these groups to essentially take care of it for them. For example, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency to operate while the government created it, to operate independent of the government. And the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. This group is required to keep track of every single gram of nuclear material in the United States and know exactly where it is, how it's being used, and how it's being stored to make sure that we don't have someone making an atomic bomb in their backyard. Another type of line agency is that of a government corporation. It's a government entity detailed to do a business-like activity because the government wants to make sure that this business is actually operating in the United States. Even if it doesn't make a profit, the government says that this type of business-like activity is so necessary that we have to ensure that it goes along. While the government decides the business function, it owns all the stocks, and the top officials do go through the confirmation process, but they're supposed to be kept separate. For example, the U.S. Postal Service is an example of a government corporation. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which insures savings accounts, is also a government corporation. Amtrak, the Tennessee Valley Authority, are all different types of government corporations. And so what we see here is several different types of line agencies, groups of are created agencies to enforce the laws of the United States and to perform particular functions as the government regulates the society and the economic activity. This concludes discussion number 3, line agencies.